Welcome to a special edition episode of the Stack Supplement podcast where I'm going to run down kind of the entirety of Stack Select, which is our official partnership with the Arnold Sports Festival that will be going down next year in Columbus, Ohio from March 1st to 3rd. Now, I had a lot of questions about the whole thing, and I'm going to answer as many as I can, basically. Here in this episode. We'll probably do a post on the website that kind of further outline and highlight this whole thing. But I felt like it had a lot of questions. Obviously, we announced it at our own Stack Supplement Expo, and it was received with great reception. We've been basically, I don't know what the word is, handling calls, I guess, since we shared it. And but working on basically bringing a powerhouse event, which I'm going to detail exactly what that means right here. And I actually outlined all of it in a nice little list because it is quite an intricate thing. And I want to make sure that everyone understands what this is, what it's going to be about, and why it's going to be a pretty damn big thing. As I've said on Stack and several occasions, it is an industry first concept, approach, or even activation, you could say. Nothing like this has been done before. And I think that absolutely everyone, industry-wide, consumers, fans, fitness goers, owners, CEOs, founders, employees are going to want to check it out. And that's primarily all we're trying to achieve here. So first off, I'm going to give a basic description about what it actually is, what Stack Select will be, and what it will look like come the Arnold Sports Festival, as I said, March 1st to March 3rd next year. So basically, when you walk into the event, anyone that hasn't been, it's very much like a traditional expo, giant hall filled with exhibitors, small, medium, large. Then they got a whole bunch of arenas in there as well. So you'll have sort of like contests going on, shows, and obviously bodybuilding stages in there as well. And amongst all that is going to be an area, or a section, or pavilion, whatever you want to call it, called Stack Select. And that is going to be an area curated, basically put together entirely by the team at Stacked. What that means is when you walk in, it's going to be, as far as I know, near the front row, close to the center. It's going to extend across from the center to the left. And basically it'll be a group of exhibitors. So everyone in this area is going to be able to exhibit as they would if they were not a part of the group. So if you booked a 10 by 10 traditional square space outside of this thing and then inside of this thing, you would have the same potential and capacity as you would either way. The benefit is that you're going to be in a group that's intended to collectively elevate one another. So let's just say you're a small supplement company in the bottom left-hand corner and you're a small supplement company in the bottom in the back right. The idea would be that if you were together, similar-minded, similar goals, similar approaches, you would draw twice as much. And so we're basically going to have a big section of brands that we've kind of reached out to, offered up the invitation, talked over with, and basically tried to bring together a powerhouse blend of brands that I myself will think would be a great combination just to check out too. So even if you step outside of it, there'll be a lot going on outside of the Stacked Select area. Big brands, as I said, activations, contests, and everything like that. But then in that area is going to be sort of like a whole new world, a whole separate world of supplements and stuff like that. And so it'll be, currently it's expected, and it's hard to say how many brands will be there because we don't exactly have a limit on size. It's basically a limit on floor space. And so by that I mean, let's just say I had 30 brands and they all decided to grab 2 spaces. And let's say that adds up to 60 spaces. This is just numbers to mathematics, for example. They would take up 60 spaces. And let's say everyone only grabbed a single square, that would take up 30. So it's all going to depend on who grabs what, where, and how. But I think we're going to probably land around 40 to 50 brands. Just to give people a heads up, we are already at, I think it's somewhere in the realm of 25 to 30 booked, confirmed. Might be a little bit more than that have still getting back to me. But that to give you an idea on pretty much how we're filling it up gradually, because we worked on it for about 3 months before we even announced it. It was actually a project that we talked about with the Arnold, and then it kind of just evolved from there. We didn't, we didn't really kind of go in with this concept. It evolved, and basically I reached out to about 5 supplement companies originally just to ask what they thought, asked to kind of if they would attend the Arnold if this was there, and kind of see what attracted them, what didn't attract them, and figure out things and features that aren't at expos that they've seen that maybe we could add or accommodate. And basically that first group of brands all said yes, and then I kind of went back and we worked it from there, and now this is where we are. And that, I think the key part about going to the brands and talking to them and finding out what they wanted at an event like the Arnold was a key part, because I learned a huge amount of things that people didn't like or wanted to see, and I wouldn't necessarily have known if I hadn't asked them. And then these are things that we can actually and have worked into the show, and the Arnold is very accommodating for, but no one would have probably asked each other kind of without me, I guess, sitting in between and communicating these messages. And so I'll run over a couple of those things first. But again, the first thing I wanted to clear up is the basic idea of it. And yes, so when you walk in, it'll be a nice big area filled with brands. They'll be evenly scattered around, and then you'll be able to be like, it'll be very clear that it's a separate section or area. I believe there'll be like a larger aisle or a very distinctive color outline around it, signage and everything like that, to make it so that it is very visibly a separate pavilion section, the Stack Select, and you'll be able to see it from afar, and it will, again, feel like you're sort of stepping into a separate area. And we'll be working our way around that as we get up closer to doing things that can help elevate it in its entirety. The next thing we're going to go to is the idea of the size of brands. So this was originally intended to be for smaller companies. And that was kind of the concept, to make something that would attract people that, I guess, wouldn't necessarily attend the show. They might not necessarily have considered it, but we're trying to figure out ways that we could make this event appealing to them. And so we worked, like I said, we reached out to a lot of brands to find out what they wanted, but over the time, it's kind of grown into a very specialty type thing. So we have small, medium, and I would even say moderately large companies that will be taking part, but it'll be on a small scale, and I'll get into that later. But yeah, we wanted to, like I said about the example earlier about having a company in the back right or the back left, and them sort of being separate, but then together they'd bring a little bit more attention. That was kind of what we were shooting for. We'd have a collective of companies that together would bring a lot of attention, and Stacked is there and the Arnold's there to help push that and drive that. And that's kind of, like I said, that when you walk into the Stack Select era, that's very much what it will be. You'll have 10 by 10s, 10 by 20s, and these are measurements, but I'm just saying like a small table, slightly bigger, and they'll have very similarly minded brands, very reputable top shelf supplements, products of all kinds and stuff like that. And yeah, like I said, we were trying to reach out to these brands and see what it was that maybe it was as simple as they didn't want to be in the back corner, and that was the thing that held them back. And for a couple of the brands, they mentioned that, and so hence the grouping together. That was a huge driving factor as to why I was like, this could be a genius idea. Well, could be, it's going to be, and it is. So yeah, next up I'm going to go over to the limitation on size. And that was what I was saying about, so everyone will be together, and when you enter this area, the concept that I had was no one's going to be able to drastically stand out. Now, at the Arnold, you'll have a lot of things going on outside of the Stack Select pavilion. So there'll be big companies doing huge displays, cans, bars, whatever going to be thrown out. As I said, there's strongman competitions, bodybuilding. There's a lot of things happening. But what we wanted to, and one of the things that we asked brands and we heard a lot about was, in amongst all those big things, sometimes you get brands that get lost in the mix. When we bring them together in this area, they're obviously all going to be elevated, But the trick is that it kind of, when I had that approach, it made sense that you wouldn't want to do, I guess, how would you say, replicate what's outside of the Stack Select area in the Stack Select area. And by that I mean, I wouldn't be able to have someone, let's say we got a few small companies doing 10 by 10s, 10 by 20 feet booths, and then we'd throw in a giant 20 by 60. That would then defeat the purpose of what was one of those original, not really complaints, but things that they just didn't like. So in the Stack Select area, the Arnold Sports Festival, there won't be anyone who can do anything drastically large. So when you look at it from a distance, it will very much look like a selection of equally presented brands. So the sizes we've gone with, so I'll be throwing out 10 by 10, 10 by 20. So those 10 by 10s, 10 feet by 10 feet, traditional square booths. The 10 by 20 is obviously a double, and then the 10 by 30 is a triple. And on the edges, there will be things where I think brands, just to fit everyone in, might appear larger. Like if you're on the edge rather than like a square, it'll sort of be a 180 degree open 10 by 20 type thing. And if you go back, it might be like a 180 20 by 20. But the idea is that everyone will no one's going to really be able to pop above anyone else in the arena. We're going to all be elevating one another. That's going to bring the people in. And then everyone within this pavilion will be at least equally seen or equally opportunity to be able to present themselves. So there won't be like a 40-foot tall booth next to a 10 by 10 at 10 feet tall. Like there is just going to be that. And that was purely because, like I said, I didn't want to replicate what was outside of it, because we were already trying to bring that giant presence with the collective of the companies that are in there. And then limiting people on size, not really limiting, just keeping a consistent size. Because we could even, let's say the year after, we shift their size and everyone has to do a minimum of 10 by 20, 10 by 30. It wouldn't really matter. It's just the idea that everyone in there has the ability to stand out as much as the next, and no one's going to feel drowned out. No one's going to feel like they misrepresented in the back corner type thing. We'll be all collectively elevating one another. And that was the reason behind the limitation on size. So again, it's not going to be a 10 by 10 giant island, 10 by 10. We'll be spacing them evenly out throughout the whole floor. And again, in the idea that it's nice and fair and you'll be able to take everybody in equally. And that's one of the cool concepts. And it also gives it a nice little, I think, feel that when you go in, you have these, not small, but again, equally sized spaces that you'd be walking in and interested in what they have to offer, rather than being like small giant takes your attention type thing. And this was hugely appreciated by everyone that's already confirmed. In fact, I would say of the 25 to 30 brands that are on already, I would say 75% of them mentioned this as something that they wanted to happen and they absolutely loved about the Stacked Select area. And we're still working on several things that people have suggested to accommodate for. And that's actually something that the next thing on my list I have to go through. And this is more of a message to brands. This isn't really a message to consumers or anyone who's going to be visiting from a visitor or like a walking by type thing. This is more for the exhibitors. So one of the other things that a lot of brands said was they liked paying once and being like, okay, this is all I'm going to do, done type thing. Now, that's how do I explain this? So basically, let's just say you rented a house for $1,000 or something, right? And then you add your power bill, your, water, internet, all this stuff in it. And then initially that rental bill doesn't quite add up as much. It seems a little bit bigger when you throw everything else on top. And this was something that people who exhibited in expos, this wasn't even just exclusively this was things that people mentioned about previous ones. And it wasn't a complaint, it was more just ease for them. A lot of these smaller brands and the brands that we're working with in here, they liked the idea of just being like, I would like to pay absolutely everything up front, or not up front, but all in one, being like, okay, instead of $1,000 for rent, it's $1,500 all inclusive. These aren't real figures, I'm just using examples. And so we went with that idea. This was actually mentioned by a lot of people. They just didn't like paying and then sort of being like, oh, I might need this or I might need this. And some of these brands, I would say 80% of the companies we have at the Stack Select area at the Arnold Sports Festival haven't done an expo before. And this kind of sparked the idea of doing all-in-one packages. And this, again, this isn't something consumers really care about or even gonna want to know. But the concept is that brands would be like, okay, this is all I got to pay. So we basically worked with the Arnold to create, I guess, a one-off cost that you would be like, this is all they're going to need, absolutely everything. So if you've never done a show before and you don't want to feel like you're missing out, this is how much you'll pay. And we left it at that, and that way we were going to be able to, and that kind of reassured a lot of people because it was something that exhibitors had brought up in the past about expos that they had done. Other expos in the fitness world, sports nutrition world, is that they would kind of do the floor space, pay that. Oh, I actually need power, or I would need whatever, and they'll have to pay it extra, and they never really come into their mind until the day. And so these things add up, and that was the goal behind the all-in-one feature. And again, not consumer related, but a big kind of deal for I think brands, just purely accommodating them as best we can, even if it's something as simple like I just want to know the price and that's it, have peace of mind. And the Arnold's more than willing to do that. So that's one of the other things. And the next one I got on the list, this is something we're working on, and we've already pretty much got kind of under wraps. Sorry, not under wraps, but finished. So one of the things that people asked was they liked the idea of distributors, retailers, industry type people stopping by, checking out what they had to offer. And it's obviously a good idea, whereas if you're, let's just say an example, a retailer, and you want to pick up a brand that maybe no one else has, or only a few people have, and you want to pick it up for maybe East Coast, West Coast, or whatever, you go to the Arnold, you go into the Stack Select area, and you have, like I said, 40 to 50 companies. It's a pretty solid selection. And you see someone who hasn't, been distributed before, and you like the vibe, you like what they got, you like their products. Having a discussion at the Arnold when peak consumers are running through is not an easy thing to do. Not by any stretch of the imagination. It's incredibly difficult. I've been there. I've been to maybe 5, 6 Arnolds, I think, over the years. It gets crazy during peak time. And so we came up with the concept of an industry hour. So the Arnold's given us the green light for this. So basically an hour before opening, and this is consumer opening hours. So I think it crosses over with the VIPs. I'm not sure what time they get in. But we have been able to, given the opportunity to do an industry hour where, an hour before regular consumers get in, people can walk in and explore the Stack Select area and talk to these guys on a more industry personal basis, as opposed to when there's a crowd running through sampling and all that stuff. And that was something that a lot of people asked about. They said, is there something we could do like to meet and greet afterwards, maybe do a whatever? And the Arnold was more than accommodating for this. And again, the main goal is just to give the exhibitors the opportunity, and also give retailers, distributors, manufacturers, whatever it may be, anybody industry side interested in these brands for whatever they have to offer, to be able to connect with them on a easy basis, on a much clearer basis, rather than when it's peak crowd, noise is pumping, music's going off and all that stuff. We are not really reaching out to anyone yet. Once we have the brand set, confirmed, and ready to go, and then I can say, hey, these 50 guys are going to be there. We'd like to invite you. If you're going, cool, that's great. We can actually get you a pass to get in an hour early. And so this will, you will have to apply for this, because it'll be sort of, I don't really know how it's going to look visually or in your hands, but it'll be a pass where you can roll up, get in to the Stack Select area before opening. We will be limited on that, because it's not like we can let every industry person in, because then it'll just be the consumer all over again type thing. There will be a limit we can have, and it's mostly a testing ground, not mostly, it's sort of a testing ground to see if there is this potential for industry people to be interacting with these brands on that level. And if there's people of that stature or size or business that are there anyway, and they would appreciate it as well. And again, this is something we're working on just because a couple companies, not even a couple, I would say 25% suggested this, and then 50% said they absolutely loved the idea. Yeah, we've been working on it. Once we've got the brands confirmed, we'll be sort of having a sign-up page on the site, and then you can just basically apply and get involved. And it's one of the cool things that we're going to be able to offer. Again, it will be limited on site, so I don't know how it's going to be sort of run through or applied for, but I would suggest when that gets out there, when the opportunity opens, get it if you're slightly interested. Because again, I don't think we're going to be able to like let thousands in, because much like I said, it'll defeat the purpose of being able to communicate on a much more comfortable, easier going basis. The last one we've got, a little area I'm going to touch on, are the types of brands that'll be there. So basically, it is pretty much a mix of what, to be honest, I personally would be interested in, which is selfish, I guess. But I think, and what I'm interested in seeing as a supplement fan and a supplement fanatic and fitness go and all that stuff, I'd like to think is very similar to what most hardcore fans would like. And obviously what you see reflected on Stacked on a day-to-day basis. But it will be basically primarily, I say basically a lot, but it would primarily be a lot of sports nutrition brands, because it's a consumer-facing show. Obviously the Arnold is very consumer-facing, consumer first. And so I think it's about 80%, 75%, I don't know the exact amount. It's around there for supplement companies, so sports nutrition supplement companies. That's protein powders, pre-workouts, aminos, fat burners, muscle builders, all that stuff. Those are the guys that'll be making up the majority of the space. There will be a couple of ingredient companies sprinkled in there as well. I think there are 3, and we have, so the supplement, sports nutrition supplement side, we haven't set a cap or anything. So let's just say of the 50 companies, 45 end up being supplement companies. That's fine. But on the ingredient side, we've set the limit at 3, I think it is. Just purely because, again, they'll be scattered throughout as well into between the supplement companies. And I think it's a great opportunity for consumers to be introduced to these things, not at an intense level. Obviously, if you were learning about this ingredient, that ingredient, and that was all there was, it can get a bit, you want something to try, you want something to throw down, you want to see this stuff in action in a pre-workout. So there will be 3 in amongst all these supplement companies, again, evenly spread out. So it wouldn't be ingredient. It would be ingredient, supplement companies mostly. Then you'd get another one you might run into. And the good thing is that these are all prominent ingredient houses. So the stuff you're going to see at their booths will very much be what you would see. You'll find these things in the other brands that'll be around them as well. There might actually specifically be an area worked in with an ingredient company, but it's not absolutely loaded. And then in addition to that, we have a few energy drinks. I would say a similar amount of energy drinks to ingredients, and then a few functional guys, so protein bars, protein snacks, and whatnot. And yeah, they'll be sprinkled out. So the goal won't be to put them all supplements in one aisle, all ingredients or whatever. It'll be an even amount. Again, much like I said way back at the start of this, to create sort of a village, a city, an experience where you would walk through, and it might take an hour or 2 if you go through this absolutely entire thing. I would like to think that that's kind of what I'm trying to shoot for. Where if you took in every single space and you stopped by every single company, you would be introduced to new levels of supplements, some quality stuff you may never have seen before. And the brands will be given the opportunity to, again, you're not going to be beside, I don't know, not to knock it, but you're not going to be beside something that's not necessarily in your realm or in your area, even on your space and kind of level, I guess, if that makes sense. They'll all be very interesting. If you like the first company in the line, you're going to like the next. And that kind of fan exhibitor interaction is what we're trying to perfect and basically drive home. So at the end of the day, like I said, it's designed to be a full-on supplement experience, a mini expo almost inside an expo, but geared towards supplement heads, next level sports nutrition, and just guys that, when they pick up a pre-workout, they're not just looking at the front, they're turning that shit around, they're looking at what's in it. Those kinds of people, I think, are going to have a crazy time at this area, and I don't imagine you getting in and out of there in an hour, 2 hours, if you look at everything and take it all. And if you rush through, anybody get through fast. But I'm trying to bring the house in terms of variety, and I am aiming so that people that enter this area that love supplements haven't seen a lot of this before. Whether it's a new brand, a new company, supplements from these companies. And that's actually the one last thing I will touch on and round off with is we are doing Expo Awards there. So we've done Expo Awards in the past for FIBO, the Arnold, the Olympia, Body Power. These were awards where we would just walk by and judge and then present to them. We had best new product, best tasting, people's choice. I think best booth was the other one. And we just judge it on the day. And whoever bought the newest product, the coolest, that'd win best new product. Best tasting one, so the products that were on offer, we judge on that. I think best booth was basically blended who had the coolest interactivity, presentation, and presence. And people's choice was basically we would highlight every single booth at these expos, and we would gauge on user interaction as to which was the most interesting. That would be the winner. But at the Arnold Sports Festival, we're going to be doing similar. I don't know the categories, but being stacked and being lovers of innovation, creativity, new products, cutting edge, stuff like that, that is going to be at the forefront. So we will get details out as quickly as we can once the brands are set. And that way we're going to say hey, just so you know, guys, everyone can take part in this. So this won't just be for the Stack Select area. Everyone at the Arnold will be able to be judged on or taken into account. But things like best new products sort of give supplement companies, emerging supplement companies, which is a lot of what will be in the Stack Select area, they'll have the chance to put something together and show it off and bring it and present it. Or whether it's taste, whether it's something completely new, whether it's introduction of a new ingredient that they've now got in a supplement, things like that. And we're going to be driving that. So that kind of sums up as best I can. I had rehearsed this a little bit just to try and figure out how I would lay it all out, because there's a lot involved in this. And a lot of these things, not everything's appealing to each type of person. If you're going as a spectator, you might not care about the all-in-one packages, but the same with where's it laid out in the space, how long is it? Those might also be interesting in the exhibitors. So these things, I thought we'd do a video, outline everything, plan it out, and there are other potential projects and things involved in this that I'm not saying right now. These are only the ones that we are absolutely certain on in terms of they're in the works, pretty much done. And again, the brands side of things, the exhibitor side of things, we're at, I think it's at 25, 30 companies, and that's taken up maybe 75%. So there is a capacity on this area because they can only extend us so far, and we can't go downwards too far. As far as I know, the collective area will be the largest thing in terms of exhibitor there, but obviously it's made up of multiple exhibitors, so it's a little bit, it's a technicality, but it will be huge. And so any brands interested in taking part, getting involved, reach out, whether it be comments, Instagram, social contact page on our website, and anybody attending the Arnold. I look forward to seeing you there, and I look forward to giving you supplement fans just the best experience we could possibly think of. Any ideas you have as well, even if you're just a spectator, visitor, even exhibitors, even if you don't plan on exhibiting and you think this would be a cool thing to see and you would like to see executed, hit me up. We've been working off ideas and working with brands to accommodate as best we can, and that was what we want to do. Anyone who's held back at being present at a huge event like this for whatever reason, if it's something as simple or even something that might not sound simple to you, we're doing our best to make sure everything is in there and everything works, and it's going to be one hell of an experience. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. Hopefully anyone that turns up, and we look forward to putting on a great show. Thank you.